Hello, I'm Fiona Alford-Williams. I'm the Director of Media at Edison Investment Research, and I'm joined this morning by Kirsten Motyl, who is the Senior ESG Officer at the Pebble Group. Good morning, Kirsten.
Morning.
There's been an awful lot written recently about the pushback against ESG issues. Why do they matter for Pebble?
I think ESG matters to us because it's the right thing to do, really. It makes business sense and it provides ourselves opportunities to grow the business and engage with our stakeholders to make a lasting impression. I think as a business, we don't really see ESG as something separate. It's already integrated into our business, and it's because it's integrated into our business. It's reflected in the way we work and the things we do in our day-to-day operations. And I think one of the many criticisms that we have around ESG is the number of frameworks and standards that exist and how fast things are changing. So whilst that can be challenging for other organisations, I think we see that as an opportunity to review and update our working practices. So we may not take the whole standard or the whole framework. We may take elements of that and then integrate that into our business so that we can try to update our processes and procedures and sort of align with best practice. We also feel sort of ESG helps provide us with a competitive advantage. So it gives us sort of the tools we need to sort of support our stakeholders with their requests. And as we transition to a low carbon economy, really, and sort of that also follows through to sort of engagement as well with our stakeholders through our materiality assessment, through value chain engagement, and through reporting and publication. So I think, it's a really useful tool for us to connect with our stakeholders, have those discussions with them so they can see, what we're doing and actively working to sort of demonstrate, how it is right for our business and all the things that we're doing.
In your documentation, you discuss 4 cornerstones of how you approach delivering stakeholder value through your ESG policies. Can you just run through those for us, please?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So the 4 cornerstones we put together really was so that we had sort of our own framework because, as we talked about before, there's lots of different standards and frameworks. They mean different things to different people. So, we adopted our framework ourselves really to make it real and relevant to our organization. So when we're talking about it internally, it makes sense to us, but it also aligns with the sort of the E, the S and the G. So if I go on to talk about those 4 cornerstones, then they cover advancing sustainability, empowering our people, community engagement, and responsible leadership. So if I sort of go through each one of those in a little bit of detail. So if we first talk about advancing sustainability, this is about the steps we're taking to reduce our environmental impact. So that's focused on reducing our direct environmental impact through our energy use, through on-site waste, and through looking at how we can try and move to sort of greener energy. And then looking at sort of reducing our direct impact. I think with a lot of organisations, Scope 3 emissions are the largest challenge that we all face. And across our group, Scope 3 represent 99% of the emissions that we have within our business. So, focusing on targeted engagement projects is really, really important. So that's part of that cornerstone too. And then supporting our customers to meet their sustainability goals. Half of our business is a product-based business. So our clients are very much focused on trying to look at how do they make themselves more sustainable. So we can look at that. And then lastly, around data accuracy improvement. So improving the accuracy of the data that we have. So if we go on to the second cornerstone around empowering our people, that's about supporting our teams to thrive and grow. And again, in sort of 4 main areas. So that's about building a positive culture and work environment. I think culture is a really, really important thing for us at Pebble. I think, we want to make sure that our culture is reflective of our values. And we think, creating that positive culture means everybody can perform to the best of their abilities. And then if we move on to sort of celebrating individuality and difference, this is around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So As a business, again, we're less focused on setting quotas and more about getting the culture right, because we believe if we get the culture right internally, we'll drive that diversity through the business and also through attracting new people into the business. So that's really, really important for us too. And then around training, development, and succession planning, so equipping our people within our business with the skills and knowledge to perform to the best of their abilities through mentoring programs and things like that. And then listening to our people as well. So conducting regular engagement programs, understanding what our employees are looking for, and encouraging a speak up culture in the business. And then looking at that feedback and then building that back into the second cornerstone to sort of drive that improvement through the business. So for community engagement, that's around creating a positive impact. So around the local community. So how do we use our resources to support local charities through volunteering, charitable giving? And each business has the flexibility to manage that themselves. So we want to make sure they engage locally with each of their areas so that they can then work in the local community. And then the second one's around Facilisgroup and building their community. So Facilisgroup holds things like partner summits and supplier showcases, where we can try and generate collaborative knowledge and learning within the industry. So we do that through training sessions, information sharing, and having topics and speakers. And then lastly, onto responsible leadership. This is all about leading responsibly through good governance. So developing the infrastructure, having robust processes, frameworks, and policies to be able to do that. And again, like developing our own cornerstones, this is about developing policies and frameworks that are right for us. We want to be we want them to reflect our tone of voice and culture. So we want to make them relatable to everybody so that they can then be embedded nice and easily through the organization. And then we also use recognized standards to build credibility, such as ISO standards, which are held across the group businesses. And we have to maintain those annually. So it's important that we keep and maintain those. Then we go on to responsible procurement. So responsible procurement is fundamental to our group building trust and sort of long-term relationships with our stakeholders. So each business has the responsibility to validate their suppliers and their supply chain. And that's one of the reasons why customers use us to sort of de-risk their purchases. So it's really, really important that we have the robust processes in place to manage things like labour standards, human rights, and quality and safety of the products we deliver. Then moving on to risk management, so identifying the risks and opportunities across the business, both business risk and climate risk as well, covering those at both an individual business level and at a group level, and how do we try and put things in place to minimise those risks and sort of exploit the opportunities. And then lastly, around information security. So that's around carefully managing the data we have to look at minimising the risks of threats and attack. And again, using embedded structures and training and following sort of management systems such as ISO 27001 and SOC 2 to try and make sure that they're embedded within the organisation.
So Pebble Group consists of actually two distinct businesses, the software business, Facilisgroup, and the product business, Brand Addition. So what are the ESG priorities for Facilisgroup first?
So I think for Facilis, because it's a SaaS business, the environment and sort of their environmental impact is quite minimal. So as we talked about that community engagement, that cornerstone around community engagement, so their focus is very much around the community. And I think have to understand Facilisgroup is more than just a technology company. So the community is a really, really important part of that, with both the suppliers and also the partners. And through the sort of engagement we have with them and those engagement sessions that we run, we try to educate both our partners and suppliers, but we also feel that we're hoping to sort of educate the industry as well. And we do that through responsible sourcing, training, talk about climate change and ESG, DI and empowerment. And Facilis also runs various training sessions through its Amplify platform to help drive distributor sales and sort of educate the industry. And I think we're in quite a unique position with Facilisgroup because we work with some of the largest suppliers. Now, that's predominantly within the US, but even so, it's still important that we look at that area. We have around about $1.2 billion worth of sales go through the Syncore platform. So we have a good influence with those suppliers. So, you know, by conducting these engagement sessions, talking to them about climate change and the impacts of sustainability, you know, we feel that we can start to make a difference in the industry as well. So that's really important. And then lastly, the other element of the community is Facilis run a process called Facilis Cares. So they involve both the partners and the suppliers together, and they sort of try to do community events together. And they do that either sort of individually or as part of their Facilisgroup events. So whenever they go and visit a location, they try to donate to a charitable sort of company and work with the two businesses, work with the partners and the suppliers to be able to sort of do that.
And Brand Addition is a very different type of business. What are the ESG priorities there?
Yeah, so Brand Addition is very much a product business. So that's focused very much on responsible sourcing and sustainable procurement. And I think, you know, the customers that we use, they're demanding more sustainable products, they're demanding more transparency. So it's really, really important for us to sort of have a clear strategy and how we focus on those ESG elements. And that really does help us sort of build the strength of our existing relationships with our customers, and then also win new business as well, because they can see the steps that we're taking and sort of how we're going through to ensure that sort of we're trying to make all of the suppliers that we use, you know, work to a certain standard. So if we come on to talk about sort of specifically responsible sourcing, so Brand Addition provide a vast range of different products to their customers. So we have to work with a large supplier network. So supplier due diligence and validation is really, really important. And I think that's where we can add a lot of value with Brand Addition. So understanding how products are manufactured, in what conditions and by whom. So Brand Addition has their own on-site audit team, and they conduct both on-site assessments and desktop assessments. And we feel that that gives us a benefit and also maybe a bit of a competitive advantage. A lot of our other people within the business will use third-party audit companies to do their audits. We've chosen to use our own audit teams because I think they get to understand the standards that we expect of our businesses, you know, what it is within our code of conduct that we expect them to deliver upon. So they have a standard that they can work to, and we can make sure not only do we look at sort of one aspect of responsible sourcing, but it covers the whole host, right through from quality through to sort of the ethics of the business and things like that as well. So I think that's really, really important for what we do. And then secondly, around sustainable procurement. So Brand Addition has its own sustainability team, and their main role is to support the business and the customers when sourcing and selecting products to reduce their overall environmental impact. And we do that through range development, material selection, bespoke product design and manufacture, and expert advice and guidance. So some customers come to us having a very clear idea of what they want, and others come to us with less of an idea, but they know they want a sustainable product. So having that sustainability team, they're really ingrained within the business. They understand our suppliers, they understand what a sustainable product looks like, and they can work to try and help the customers shape product ranges, work to understand what the core values are of that business so that they can align the products to those core values. And the other part of their role, which is really, really important, is doing the validation of those sustainable products as well. There's an awful lot around greenwashing with products. So, you know, what we try to do is make sure that whenever we're putting a product forward or we're talking about a product, that product has been validated through product certifications, testing protocols, making sure that we understand the origin of materials. And that's really, really important, because I think we then have, you know, all the information we provide is based on fact. You know, we have the data to back that up, and it's really, really important for our customers to be able to show that. And then lastly is around the engagement piece, as we talked about before. You know, Brand Addition doesn't manufacture any of its own products. It uses a vast range of suppliers and subcontractors. So I think, you know, going through those engagement exercises, getting those suppliers on the journeys. You know, we work with a range of suppliers from very, very large to very, very small. So getting them to go through that value chain engagement exercise, getting them to understand the the goals that Brand Addition are trying to meet, and then getting them on the journey, you know, talking to suppliers about how do they measure their emissions, what do they need to do to get started? Because ultimately, you know, we want to try and drive down our Scope 3 emissions, provide better products to our clients, but also, you know, by doing this, it's helping to sort of push the industry forward to try and meet the goals that we need to meet to try and reduce our overall environmental impact.
That's been fascinating, Kirsten. Thank you so much. It's very clear that this whole ESG element is central to Pebble's ethos, and it's part of its offensive ability to win business, and also is a real great defensive strength as well. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you very much.